I can go to India, bowl 4 overs and get $1 million for 6 weeks. Tell me why I should play Test cricket.
Yeah, fair point, Mikey. Mikey, do you believe in the moniker fast bowlers are born and not made?
Definitely, you can't make a fast bowler. You can't take anyone and put them in a gymnasium and give them whatever exercises and strengthen their body and turn out a fast bowler. You have to be born a fast bowler. You have got to have the rhythm and the coordination and everything that it takes to bowl that ball fast. Strength alone and hard work alone or practice alone is not going to make a fast bowler. It's not just physical. It's a lot of other things combined.
And Mikey, what was the best bit of advice you ever got from another fast bowler regarding your own bowling?
To be honest, I didn't get a lot of advice from other fast bowlers about my bowling. When I was a young man growing up at Melbourne Cricket Club, there were 2 spinners there that helped me a lot with my bowling. Arthur Barrett and Bruce Wellington, who were 2 spinners there at Melbourne. They were right men. They knew the game and they helped me a lot. I can't remember getting too much advice from other fast bowlers. And the Roberts, when I started to play with the West Indies, we were roommates, and of course, in that regard, we discussed opposition batsmen. We talked about cricket, we talked about fast bowling. But as a young man growing up, before I met Andy and was able to room with him playing Test cricket, those were the people who helped me.
Mikey, moving on to the ongoing World Cup, which sides have impressed you so far in the tournament? I know it's early days, but any sides that you seem to think that they look like potential winners?
There are quite a few teams that can win the World Cup side, but I'll tell you the team that I think will win, whichever team bowls best. And I think Australia have a fantastic bowling lineup. They have Brett Lee, they have Sean Day, they have Mitchell Johnson. 3 bowlers who have fantastic strike rates. I think Mitchell Johnson has the highest strike rate of them all, meaning he takes the most balls taken wickets, which is something like 30-something balls. Below him, you have Brett Lee with 29 balls from 20 wickets, and below him you have Sean Taylor, who would take 26 balls to take wickets. Now, when you have 3 bowlers that can take wickets as regularly as that, you're going to that dynamic force. And of course, their batting isn't that shabby. But you also have South Africa, who have Steyn and Mortal, who have reasonably good strike rates as well, and their batting is strong. India have fantastic batting, and I think India's best chance of winning the World Cup is to chase targets, not to set targets, because their bowling is not the type of bowling that's going to prevent teams from getting big targets, as we saw when they made 328, and England should have won that game comfortably with overs to spare. So I think India can win, but their best chance, in my opinion, is to chase targets, not set targets.
Mikey, there's been a lot of discussion recently, and the ICC have obviously taken some action regarding the number of teams in the World Cup. I mean, what's your take on the format and the fact that there's 3, with all due respect, 3 minnow sides in each of the groups?
Well, I think there are 4 minnows in total, 4 associate teams. Zimbabwe and Bangladesh, people refer to them as minnows, but they are testing nations. They are struggling a little bit, especially Zimbabwe. They have had their problems. They are trying to get back to normalcy. Bangladesh recently had tested nation. You have to give them some time to develop. But I do not agree with 4 associate teams being in the World Cup. I said that from 2007. People ridiculed me, said that it was ridiculous to say that because that's the only way they can improve. Well, we have seen it. They have not improved and they are being embarrassed. And you do not want to be embarrassing people and getting mediocre Mickey Mouse games being played. We had another one today. Kenya were totally embarrassed. We have had quite a few of them that have been embarrassed in games. Canada, totally embarrassed on more than one occasion. What you need to do is to limit the amount of minnows or associate teams that are in the World Cup and reward the 2 that get to the finals of your tournament. No more than that. You can't take them all out, as the ICC have now done for the next World Cup. I think that's ridiculous. You have got to give them something to aim at. There has to be a carrot. There has to be an incentive for them to play and aim towards something. But not 4 teams. If you cannot get to the finals of your own associate tournament, what are you doing in a major World Cup?
Yeah. And Mikey, you'll be more than happy that you sat in the Sky Studios, not having to bowl on some of these wickets out there in India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. Seems to be very much in the favour of the batsmen at the moment. These wickets.
Very much so. But if you have pace, you can be successful, as we have seen.
Yes.
And I don't think I would have been too worried about bowling on them. I went to India in 1983. I got 30 wickets in 5 Test matches. I wouldn't be too worried about bowling on them. If you have pace, you can be successful.
Mikey, Virender Sehwag is a batsman that quite a number of modern day bowlers have faced and been carted around the pitch. Now, what would have been your plan against someone like Sehwag, and did you ever come up against somebody similar in sort of approach and technique?
I think I came up against better batsmen than Sehwag. A better batsman than Sehwag ever can be. I think people like Majid Khan and Javed Mian that better Tiger Abbas. I think I'll go up against better batsmen than Sehwag. Sehwag hammers the ball all around, yes, and his technique is a bit ordinary too. And he loves to put the ball that is outside his off stump. If I was going to Sehwag, that he would not see a ball outside his off stump unless he was sleeping and dreaming. You would see every ball in line with his body, and that is how you have got to bowl to Sehwag. Give him nothing outside his off stump. Bring the ball into him every delivery and cramp him for room. Don't give him any room outside his off stump for him to extend those arms, and we'll see how he'll score runs there. I'm not going to say he will never score runs at all, but he certainly won't score as fluently as he's scoring now outside the off stump.
Mikey, a couple of questions regarding cricket in general. I mean, we look at Sachin Tendulkar, Jack Callis and Brian Lara as three of the greatest batsmen of the modern era. How do they compare against some of the guys that you've mentioned there, the Javed Miandads, the Sunil Gavaskars, the Zahir Abbasis, those?
To be honest, I don't like comparing cricketers from different eras. When you play in a particular era, you perform against what you come up against, and you do what is necessary in that particular era. I was asked recently to compare two bowlers, two great leg spinners as far as I'm concerned, Shane Warne and Abdul Qadir. And I think they are the two best leg spinners I have ever seen. But Abdul Qadir did not play in the modern times. He did not have to develop the variety of deliveries that Shane Warne has developed in this modern time. But that doesn't mean that Abdul Qadir, in my opinion, wasn't as good a bowler as Shane Warne. So when you're comparing batsmen, Viv Richards didn't play in the modern time, didn't have to make the sort of adjustments and do the different things that modern cricketers are doing. But that doesn't mean he wouldn't be as good as a modern day batsman. So I don't like comparing eras. In the modern era, you have had great batsmen. In the past era, you have had great batsmen. And I like to keep it that way. Bowlers, similar situation. Look at the amount of slow deliveries now that bowlers are doing. Look at the amount of variety that bowlers now have in their armour because they have to, because they've had to adjust. In my time, very few bowlers bowl slow deliveries, but that doesn't mean that those bowlers those days weren't as good as they are now. So, comparing eras, I think, is totally false and unfair.
Mikey, coaching. It seems like the modern day cricketer seems to be very reliant on fielding coaches, batting coaches, the head coach as well. There seems to be more coaches than players sometimes. What's your take on this whole aspect of coaches and their involvement in modern day cricket?
Well, that is the way the game has changed again, sir. As I said, times change, things change. In my day, we didn't have all those coaches. We had a manager, we had an assistant manager, we had a captain. It was not until World Series cricket came along when we had a physiotherapist who travelled with us, and we still didn't have a coach. The times have changed now. Teams have 16 members in their squad. They have 12 or 13 support staff. They have a nutritionist. They have a physiotherapist. They have coaches, specialist coaches for fielding, batting, bowling. I don't have a problem with it. The times have changed. You have to specialise, and you need to get people who can do the specific jobs that different people in the team require. I have no problem with it.
Mikey, moving on to a chapter that was extremely sad and distressing for all cricket fans around the world last year, especially Pakistani cricket fans, the spot fixing saga. I mean, you were very close to the action there, you were on commentary. Your general thoughts on what happened, Mikey, and, do you think cricket will ever recover from this episode?
To be honest, I think cricket will recover. I think people who love the game have very short memories. They can move on from bad news and from bad incidents. And I certainly know that cricket will survive. What happened in that series and with those three gentlemen was very, very unfortunate. And I was very distressed to see and to realise that a young 18-year-old had been dragged into that mess. A young, talented 18-year-old who had so much in front of him. That is the most unfortunate aspect man. At 18 years old, you're a responsible person and you should know what is right and wrong. Yes, I totally agree. But still, at 18 years old, you're not a mature person. I don't care what anyone says, and you can be easily influenced. It's unfortunate that young Mohammed Amir got involved in all that, but let's hope that others will learn from this and others will say no when things like this come up in the future.
Mackie, just going back to another controversial incident in 2006 when you resigned from your position from the ICC after they declared the Oval Test between Pakistan and England as a draw. You know, your thoughts thinking about that decision and that what went on that day as well?
Well, on that day, Saj, a lot of people would have heard me again on Sky totally disagreeing with what the umpires did. Because what the umpires did, in my eyes, was to say to the entire world that Pakistan, your team, you are cheats. When you take a decision like that and to fine a team or to punish a team the way that they did, it just sends one signal. There are no two ways about it. That punishment is for when you are cheating. And if you're going to say that my team or me as a person or whatever, I am cheating, you need to make sure you have all the evidence available to prove that. And I do not think the evidence was there to prove it such. So I was totally against the umpires making that decision, and I totally supported Inzamam Ulhaq for what he did, because I would have done the same thing. You don't call me a cheat unless you can prove it and disgrace me and my team. But when you make decisions like that as an individual, as a person, you have got to be able to live up to the consequences. That is why people are called martyrs at times, because they make decisions that they know, okay, there are consequences coming with this, but I have to stand up for my rights. That's why we see what's happening around the Middle East right now. People are giving up their lives for their rights. You suffer the consequences when you make certain decisions, but you know what is coming. Pakistan knew what was coming. Inzamam Ulhaq knew what was coming. They made their decision. They made a statement, which I think was the right statement, but when the punishment comes, you have got to suffer that punishment. They knew the match was going to be forfeited. The match was forfeited under the rules of the game. We can't no compromise the rules and laws of the game for anything. Suffer the consequences and move on. When you are then going to change and say that the laws of the game now are wrong or the laws of the game should be changed, I can't agree with that. You do not mess with the laws of the game. You make a statement, as I said, Sarge, and you stand up for your rights, but the laws of the game are there. And if people in suits are going to all of a sudden now change everything because they do not like the way it was done, or because they have political reasons for doing it, I don't want to be a part of it.
Mikey, looking ahead to as a result of the spot fixing and what went on, do you think cricket can ever be clean? Do you think the ICC are doing enough with regards to educating cricketers? Your thoughts on this, Mikey, please.
Well, I think they might be doing enough to educate cricketers. I don't know exactly what they are doing, but it is difficult to suggest that the ICC aren't doing enough to educate the cricketers. I think all the cricketers know exactly what they need to do, what they should not be doing, and what the consequences are. My problem with the ICC is that they have known and have had evidence of things happening in the past, and they have swept it under the carpet. That's why it has continued. That is my problem with the ICC. You cannot have, because a certain particular person has a big name and you don't want it to go out into the public, that you just sweep it under the carpet, because the people who are getting involved in this spot fixing and match fixing will go to the people that they want to target and give them names who have cooperated with them. And people look at these names and say, oh, these people cooperated with you and they are fine, so why shouldn't I? That is my problem with the entire situation. That is now gone though. That is history. You can't change what has passed. What I would hope is that from now on, the ICC will take serious steps whenever things like that happen. And the cricketers themselves will learn